Want dis ons land, dis ons taal, en sonder soek kan ons gaan stories haal. Maar we lewe in die duine, hooggebou in sand, die helder see en die goue straat. Die landskap wat oor generasies vertel, die harte wat in ritme met die golwe val. Ons land, ons taal.
Hartlike goeiemôre. Nou ja, dis Vrydag die 19de Februarie. En Vrydag is gewoonlik 'n baie lekker en opwindende dag in die geselskap van Kletskompas. En vandag bring ons besoek aan 'n plek wat ek seker is baie min van julle al besoek het. Hier in Onafhanklikheidslaan op die hoek van Swerensburg is die nuwe Windhoek Stadsmuseum. Dit is op die 4de November verlede jaar deur oud-president Aaron geopen en ons is vandag hier om met die kurator meneer Aaron Nambadi oor hierdie pragtige nuwe museum te gesels. Nou ja, bly ingeskakel want julle wil daarom graag sien wat hier binne aangaan. With me this morning is Mr. Aaron Nambadi. He is the curator of this brand new Windhoek City Museum. Good morning, Mr. Nambadi.
Good morning, Rona.
And thank you for hosting us here this morning.
We are humbled to have you.
We are looking forward to the tour in this very old building. But give us first of all a background of this building.
Okay, this building was constructed in 1907, and the first resident was this gentleman here, George, we would call him. George was an officer in the German army, where his main task was to write reports to Germany about the happenings in the country. It is unfortunately one of those sad histories, but it has to be told. He lived here with his family. He had horses on site, and he had his workers also on site here. He occupied the house in 1908, but unfortunately he had to leave because he was not on sick leave after a few years. This building is having 7 spaces, excluding the cafe that is about to be operational. We have it in a chronological order, starting from the pre-colonial Windhoek. You would see frames and stories about the city, pre-colonial, and then you move into colonial. We have the flora and the fauna, the beautiful birds that you would see in this part of the countries, and also some animals. And then we'll have what we call the audio and visual Windhoek, where we depict some materials, but mainly audio and visual. And then we have the Windhoek today. This we are trying to depict Windhoek in its current state. It's a working space, I must say. We are working to empower that space. And then, not to bore our visitors, we have what we call a temporary space. This temporary space is meant to evolve every 6 months. You would get new exhibitions. Now we have an exhibition by some refer to as the fire brigade, but we refer to them as the emergency services. Who they are, what they do, why they are important to the city. If you hear a siren, why you should give them the right of way and things like that. It's meant to educate our visitors on the services of the various parts of the city. If you come back 6 months later, you would see something else. And then our last part that you would see is the life and times in the old location. As you remember, Our community used to live in the old location, what is now currently Auckland Park, and they were forcibly removed onto Katutura. We will give you a story about that also. And then we have a botanical garden, a very small botanical garden, but it tells the story about our plants. Some that had medicinal use. If you go outside, you'll be able to see what you can do or what our ancestors used to use if you had an infection of the eye, an infection of the ear, things like that.
As a curator, how do you go about putting together the artifacts and the display in the museum? Where did you get all the artifacts from?
Okay, I want to acknowledge at this moment two institutions. One is the Vanta Museum in Finland. They provided professional assistance and monetary assistance because they have been in the industry for a very long time. And also we got the Museum Associations of Namibia under the leadership of Dr. Jeremy Sylvester, who now together we set and we came up with what we call an exhibition plan, the storyline, if I'm to give you that. Now in that storyline is where we now documented every little piece that we want people to see. Now the artifacts then supplement the story, and this is an ongoing research, so that's why you would see us even coming to your offices asking for photographs, National Archives asking for audio materials, NBC and things. It's an ongoing process that we do. You would understand that at this moment, because we've been in existence for 3 months, we are a bit short in that area, but as we are going ahead, we have a plan to document and also to get artifacts to supplement this. We do also get loans from individual or institutions. You would see we have beautiful specimens that we got from the National Museum that they have loaned to us. We also have some materials from the National Art Gallery of Namibia and things like that. We have a policy in place that allows us to go and ask for loans and also to purchase if need be.
Thank you. So we are glad to follow you and see what you will show us. Mr. Nambadi, this is quite interesting, the different names of Windhoek. So it wasn't always known as Windhoek.
No.
Tell us a bit more.
I want to start by saying why people resided in this part of the country is because of water. As you would have noticed that the central part is quite dry. So we had springs, hot water springs here, and we had beautiful garden in the olden days. I'm talking about 100 years ago. So everybody that passed here would notice the water, and then they had cattle and horses. So when they occupied these spaces, everybody gave a name to the space according to their own understanding of the space. So whether you were local or whether you were in the olden days, the German soldiers passing by, they would give a name to the space. And it was quite contested, you would see in the next spaces, because everybody wanted to ask, water is life, I'm sure. And so you would see the different names, the Kaigams, I'm sure you have seen that in the Nama Damara Koko, Ochomise in Sherero, Queen's Adelaide's bath because of the water, the Germans gave them that. Barmen, relating to the gross barmen now in Okahanja, Concordeville, and also Windhoek, and things like that. So everybody that gave, that occupied the space, gave their name according to their own understanding. Interesting enough, the name Windhoek was now given in 1916, many years ago, because of the source of water and the wind that was also quite prominent at that time. Yeah.
A windy corner.
Yeah.
Windhoek.
Yeah.
There has been a rise of fraudsters impersonating Natus officials. Please always be vigilant and never make payments that aren't at a legitimate payment counter. The Roads Authority does not accept payments via e-wallet, Blue Wallet, or Easy Wallet. Stop. In a questionable situation, stop and think before parting with your money. Challenge. It's okay to reject, refuse, or ignore requests that make you uncomfortable. Report. If someone approaches you for a fraudulent transaction, inform a recognized Natus official immediately. Roads Authority. Safe roads to prosperity.
Mr. Nambadi, on this wall, you are depicting 3 of the early Windhoek inhabitants.
Yes.
Mr. Francis Galton, Charles Anderson, they were explorers of that time.
Yes.
And then, of course, Jan Jonker, Afrikaner.
Yes.
Tell us a bit more about these displays.
Okay, this display, when we were doing research, we wanted to find out what the experience was of the people themselves. Unfortunately, at that time, with the local people, writing was really a problem. We discovered only that Jan Jonker himself had written what he was seeing when he was in the space with his community. The 2 explorers, Francis Galton and Charles Anderson, were explorers that moved in Africa, around Africa, and from the north up, from the south up all the way north. And they had written, when they were sitting in the space, they had written. For example, one of the interesting is that, let's take Jan Jonker, for example. He said, the Afrikaners occupied Windhoek, felt, though as Namakas, we occupy the place in common. My people, his people, referring to himself, territory comprises of Windhoek and the veld belonging to it. Now the veld, I'm assuming, is the outside area, and its boundary starting from the most northern point, Aces, that is a Pukiro. The line runs southerly and easterly to place and so forth. So he explains what he was seeing, and then this we found in the National Archives. But interesting enough, he wrote that in 1876, many moons ago. And Galton, if you do read about Galton in the archives, you would find he has documented whatever he had seen as he was traveling up and up and up, and until he arrived in northern Namibia. Yeah. On this side of the wall, we give you what we call building biographies. We have taken specific buildings that are old in the city to give you an understanding of their history. This one is what we are now referring to as the SADC Tribunal. If you see this cut here, it's standing where I don't know whether it's still called Kenya House now.
Yes.
I think it housed the Ministry of Veteran Affairs at some point. And in between the cut and the SADC Tribunal we would find is what we would call today the Robert Mugabe Avenue, running parallel between those buildings. And here, the Elizabeth House is now what is known as NAST. It used to be the first maternity hospital. So some of our people gave birth there. And
the Turnala, of course, is also important in our history. That is where Mr. Dirk-Match,
yes.
Where the Democratic Turnala Alliance had
their office, yes, at their office. It burned down at some point, you would see in the other space, but it was restored to its original space, yes. In here, our parliament, 1913, as I have indicated, it was built 5 years after this building, one of the oldest buildings, and then there, interesting enough, the Altefest used to be a museum, but now it's closed down for renovation. But interesting enough, at the back of it, there was a concentration or a prison camp. Now, at the back of it now, you would see it's just immediately behind Windhoek High School. And you can see a picture of the camp there, yes. And here, one of the building biographies here. You see, this is the old compound where our workers used to be on contract. You'd have to be a fit young man to work on contract. Your contract lasted you between 6 to 18 months. You would live in the compound. And then up here is now the old State House and the new State House. Those are some of the oldest buildings in the city. So we give you an understanding of those two. Yes. Okay, now moving up here, like I have indicated, this because Windhoek was a source of life for everybody, the hot spring. I don't know whether you remember your geography class quite well. We'll give you a bit of map of the hot springs in the city. I want to indicate to you that below here, if you take a walk around here, you would find one of the hot springs here. But there are quite a lot in the city. The water reclamation services deal with that. They try to preserve the water and we use them from time to time. On this wall, we give you our struggle now. How did Windhoek participate in the whole struggle for independence? So we give you a bit of Nanso marches at that time. They would march in hundreds and hundreds of young people to demonstrate against the system. And then the Continental Hotel, which is now the Home Affairs Office, was immediately bombed in 1988 before independence. And then this is what people called it the High Court, but if you are convicted of a crime, you were executed. That's the execution going in place. Yeah.
And that is also interesting. The three
Okay, the assassinations here we give you, as I indicated, political struggle of the city. We give you a bit of an understanding of assassinations that shook the country and the city. One of the most important ones, or they are all important, but Anton Lobowski, I'm sure you remember, the advocate who was gunned down in front of his house. Emmanuel Shifidi, 86. Clemens Kapoor, 78, just a few months after I was born. These are some of the political assassinations that shook our city. As you can see, some of the people carrying Shifidi later became parliamentarians because of their political involvement. So we just wanted to give you a clear understanding of some of the political assassination in this city. I know some of the chapters are not closed, quite painful to ourselves, but this happened right here in our doorsteps. Behind me, okay, sorry.
Sorry, sir. That interesting piece of equipment, what
Yes.
was that used for?
That's a tape recorder. If you are going to record somebody, you'd have to carry this suitcase and you would have to record that. Unfortunately, now you guys are lucky you have these small gadgets that you are using, and it's not that. In the olden days, there is also a scale. Remember, trade was quite important, so you put somewhere there, and then they will measure, and they will tell you how
Measure, yeah.
how many kilos. This I'm sure you can remember. The
The
olden
old-
days, the machine, the sewing machine, quite prominent
The
and quite
old
strong,
singer
quite
machine,
strong.
yes.
Quite strong. It was used by our ladies in the past and also some men.
Yes.
Yeah, this is. Yeah. Here we want to give you a depiction of our monuments, colonial and post-independent. Our colonial monuments. Yeah, this is the Kurt von Francois. He's now in the media. We are now contesting that he's moving, hopefully moving to the museum, and the others. A war memorial also in the zoo park, and here these ones are the ones that were erected after independence. The national acre, Heroes Acre up there, and also the three petitioners that petitions the UN to tell the story about Namibian suffering in the hands of the South Africans. And then the founding father just down across the road, and then the genocide monument. Yeah. So this was meant to give you an understanding of our pre-colonial and colonial window. This beautiful map here, we put it here to try and give you an aerial picture of the city.
And this is a recent.
Yeah, this is a recent. It's moving to the other space. This one is just for storage. But the idea here is for you to try and find where you came from.
Yes.
So you'd have to find it.
Interesting to see the topography also in terms of the Eros Mountains,
Yes.
the Awas Mountains, and the Kompas.
Auckland, yeah. Yes. This is the gallery that depicts the flora and fauna of the city, more central part, not indigenous to the city. Some of the birds you see, they do migrate, but they are quite prominent in this space. The lovebirds, if you come in the afternoon outside in the garden, you get a glimpse of them. We usually get visitors that do bird watching, so they would come as the sun is about to set and they take beautiful pictures. And then we work together with the Snake Conservation Association of Namibia, who gave us a glimpse of the various snakes that you find in the central part. And not only that, they also get to see or get to understand what to do and what not to do. One of the things that you should not do is don't kill the snake. I know that sounds, especially for people when you are scared, but the association really goes.
Rather get this professional snake catchers to come and remove them.
We have their numbers here
That's
that
the
you can call them, and then they will help you out. Yes, I know usually ladies, when the snake comes and they're all screaming and they forget. Yeah. Okay, I think that's that. Here we do a bit of conservation. We educate our members on a bit of conservation. What to do with your plastics. We got this from Rented Drum. We are hoping to get some more materials from them. What to do with your cans and things like that. I know in Namibia it's not quite prominent, but in other parts of the country, conservation is the way to go, and recycling and
But
things.
it's becoming more and more prominent. People become aware of the importance of recycling.
Yes, and that's exactly why we put these two panels here, to try and educate our people.
How to save electricity.
Yes.
how to
Switch off
save
your lights
water.
when you go off, the microwaves, what to do, your washing machine and geyser and things like that. And the kettle, I know in the geyser, they consume quite a lot of electricity. So we give you just an understanding on what to do. For example, only boil what you want to use. Don't fill up the kettle if you don't want to use the whole kettle.
Exactly.
But if you want 1 cup of coffee, rather boil that. Yeah, it saves you electricity, yes. That's good.
And of course, dispose of rubbish in a responsible way. Windhoek used to be one of the cleanest cities in Africa.
Yeah.
We always pride ourselves with that. But I must say that, I don't think it's still the case.
Yeah, no, it's our own way of trying to participate in that education part of educating our communities on conservation. Because believe me, those of us were privileged to travel in other part of the world, that litter it's just not a good thing. So we try to educate our communities. What should you do? But the city is trying. We must acknowledge that with our stakeholders. Yes.
Good. Now the multimedia center.
Okay, the multimedia center. This is the multimedia exhibition. The idea here is to exhibit audio and visual materials of prominence to the city, whether social, political, sports, and things like that. In the screen that you are seeing here, if you take the headphones, you'll be able to listen to some clips. We got some old clips about ladies who lived in the old location. who are narrating their livelihood, how it was in the old location until they were moved to Katutura, things like that. The interesting part about it is some of them are alive and they do come and they are so excited to remember, wow, okay, that's me, that's really me, and things like that. So we are hoping that in the few months to come we'll empower this space in conjunction with our strategic partners that we are identifying to get materials that tells the history of the thing.
And this is where the media houses can also
Yes.
play a role, because
Yes.
we have big archives and we keep material from very long ago.
Yes, interviews that you have done, events that you have attended, pictures of all people that you have taken. Interesting enough, if you look at some of the screen, like there you'd see the passes. You need to get it stamped every month. If they find you without that stamp, then you are sent out. And you also get to see ladies in their beautiful outfits. Beautiful, beautiful outfits. So you see, like they also, you get to see a soccer team. I remember soccer teams like Tigers, Black Africa, and the guys at the Coast Blue Water. It was very prominent in Katutura at that time. So we depict some of these materials here. Hopefully we can get more, and our visitors get to see that. I admire the ladies in their outfit, always very elegant, and the guys in black and white suits. That was really, really beautiful. And the cars are just something of what it is all. Yes. Yes.
Very nice.
Yeah. So now talking about artifacts, in terms of artifacts, hopefully one day we can get some of these dresses, we put it on a mannequin where you can experience that.
I think the more that people become aware of a space like this, you will get artifacts, historic items to put on display.
Yeah. The idea is, for last year was to launch. Now this year we go out on promotion and marketing of the space, and also solicit input from everybody, our stakeholders, people, institutions, and things like that. That is our thinking this year. We, like I indicated before, want people to donate. You can donate it for a few years. If your father left you with something that you think is prominent and can fit in the space, we can take it from you for 6 months or so and return it to you. And your story becomes part of the house, yes. Okay, this is one of our shortest, Windhoek Today. In this space, we want to depict Windhoek in its current state. So we are trying to develop it in that space. We give you just a bit of hint of how we are politically managed. This is our political appointees elected by the residents. We'll also get to see, when you come, we'll get to see the regional council. This is the local authority council, and you get to see the regional council. I don't want to go into their names because I don't know them very well. But I also wanted to show you this very interesting panel that we got in conjunction with G4S. This is how the city is divided into zones to combat crime. Every zone is manned by 4 city police officials every time, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Some in uniform, some not in uniform. The idea here was that when one makes a call or something happening, then the police don't have to run all the way from the head office, but they will be found in the space. So it helps to combat crime very fast. So if you remember where your house is or something, you would know, you'll try to find which zone you are, and then you get to know which zone you are, yes. Okay. And then here, we go here. This little baby here is we are still developing it. It's one of the model on water reclamation, on how water is reclaimed until you get a glass of water from your...
Windhoek, of course, leading the way in the international world in terms of reclamation of water.
Yes. And then here, This is meant to be for the young ones. We give you, first we start there, we give you a concept on how a street is named, what requirements you have to meet for your name to be amongst the street. For example, it says you must have done something for the city or for the nation, and then it's tabled at council and the council approves. There's a committee for that, and they approve those names.
So that is something younger people can strive for.
Yes.
To make such a difference that people want to remember you
Yes.
and honor you with the street name.
Yes, yes. You should have met the requirements and you should have done something. But yeah, here there's a small quiz that you can take. Yeah, I'll give that to you. Let me give you number 9. You
The
have to,
composer of the national. Yes.
okay. So that is just a small quiz for the little ones to try and do that. Yeah.
Good. Let us move over to.
Okay, let us move to Windhoek today, to the temporary space. Now, this is also one area where we are thinking of bringing not only city services, but also services of our stakeholders. If, for example, the Republican has a temporary exhibition that you and I can agree on, that we want to depict, this is the space we'll put it in. Now we are dealing, we developed this with the emergency services. It's current, initially it was known as the fire brigade only, but remember we brought in disaster management. Because now with the issues relating to fire, shacks burning and all the disasters. Flooding now with flooding, yes. They were very, very busy. They were in this space and they were very sweating. Said, yo, it was one of those. So now they are in one. Here we give you pictures of their first chiefs. In the olden days, Rivers was the first one, and the current one, Chief Raymond Kapia, is the current chief. And just a bit of structure on who they are and how many people he has under him. Yeah. And then they also get this manicure with the outfit. The story about this outfit is that it can burn, but at a very slow rate, so that it just gives the fire person enough time to get to safety. And this helps to cover his eyes and all these things. The helmet, maybe for things falling on his head and things like that. So, yeah. And that's some of the gas that oxygen that they have to carry at the back. Here are some of their beautiful outfits that they wear when they are on duty or off duty. So some of them. And then this is the most interesting panel. As you know, the boundaries of the city has been extended. They have to cover all that area. If you go into Hobabes, they cover 60 kilos. To Riobot, they cover 63 kilos. Okahanja, 60 from Central. We are talking about from Central and so forth. We have 4 stations. You will see them on the other panel. They distribute the works among themselves depending on the magnitude of the disaster or the emergency, so that it also reserves resources. They don't all, because their telephone is centralized, so they now get to assess. That's why it's important when our people want to make that call, they have to give as much information as they can.
To decide which.
Yeah, to decide what personnel or resources to dispatch to the site. Yes. Because if the fire is huge or something, they have to do. Here they give us some of the. Sorry, let me give one more. Some of their trucks. The first one is decommissioned now, but this is one of their most advanced one, with all the advanced equipment and enough water to distinguish any fire. And also the ladder has to be, that's why you see,
5 meter high ladder.
Yes. If you apply to construct any building in the city, they have to be consulted to give the go-ahead. They don't want you to be stuck up on the roof and they can't access to you. So this is why it's important. And then here we give you an understanding of some of the fires in the city, prominent fires. You
Like
remember?
the Turnale
Yes.
or the old.
You remember Avani? Avani also caught fire at some point, and then the Continental that I alluded to earlier. And some they deal with field fires. And then the emergencies, car accidents and things like that, they are always on standby. The 4 stations that I alluded to, I'm sure you would know Ochomise is the most prominent one in the head office, but we do have one in Seiderhof and one in Mahwilili. Those are slightly smaller, but also responsive in this area. The map, just to give you where they are located, all of them, and things like that.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Now we move to the final one on the other side. No, oh yeah, these are some of the equipments. Yes, those are some of the equipments. Quite heavy. That's why if you join these guys, you have to be quite fit. Yes. Quite have some of the pipes that they use. Helmet that they've ever used, the olden days helmets up to the new ones. But the idea is to protect your head from anything that falls from top. Yes. Final exhibition. This is the old location, the life and times of the old location. It starts on the wall behind you to give you an overview of the old location, how people lived, what the houses were made of. Mostly were made of tins that were now flattened and then connected together. You would see that at the back. And then here you would see the community. Community will give you a bit of depiction of their houses, the people standing in front of their houses. 2-bedroom houses in the olden days made of tins. They were covered very well. And then the spiritual remains gives you just an understanding of the role that the church has played. You must remember, not only were they spiritual, they were also educational. Most of the education was carried by them, not by, that time they did not have any ministry anyway. So you'd get guys studying or going through their studies through the churches. And then the sports, you would see here, interesting enough, teachers used to play tennis. Tennis in the olden days, in the old location. It's not so common now. People don't play tennis anymore.
Yeah,
but
definitely not. Soccer nowadays, but tennis not that common.
Not that common, yes. But soccer, you would see the soccer. And then the missionary schools, like I've alluded to, you would see the teachers teaching. And then here, it gives you a depiction of alcohol and the boca hole that was solely the place where one could get a cup of alcohol or something like that. It did create a bit of contestation because a community started contesting that because they wanted to have their own source of income to make a bit of money. But initially, you were only allowed to go to that space and get a glass of. We also got old pictures of people dancing in the Boca Hall. Beautiful pictures of lady dancing, the jazz dancers, which was, we got a production when we launched to try and imitate that. It was really, really beautiful. And the dressing codes were really, really amazing.
What was it called again?
The Boca Hall.
Boca Hall.
Yes, BOWKER.
Boca Hall.
Yes. And this is Tate Kondombolo. He used to work there. In fact, the story behind it is that our former founding father stayed with him before he went abroad. He was accommodated in his house.
Wow,
Yes,
interesting.
Tate Kondombolo, yes.
Mr.
Kondombolo.
Kondombolo.
Yes, Hiskia. Yes. This we got as a donation. It was one of the trumpets that were used in the old location. We got that as a donation here, brass trumpet. And now we move over to the issue of the rising of tension and the contestation. Here we just give you a bit of understanding as to how the whole story started. For people to contest, and then for people to riot, and then later people were moved. The riot started, and then people started throwing stone onto the office of the first soup, and then his car was set on fire. There's a story now that is in the public space that Anna Gagurukaze Mungunda was the lady who set that car on fire, and that's how the whole shooting started, and things like that. There were 10 people that lost their life during that riot, and then these are the wounded persons. Some of them are alive, they do come, they do visit the museum once in a while, and in the future want to use them to be narrators of the event. They are quite old though, but some of them are quite a bit.
Yeah, because that was in the 50s.
Yes, the late 50s to early 60s.
Yes.
The last resident that was moved was in 65. It was moved. You were evicted. If you agreed, you were provided transport and compensation to be moved to Katutura. But if you did not agree, then your house was demolished. It was demolished, yes. The people that refused the eviction, some of them were arrested here. You would see their names here. They refused to be moved, and then they were arrested. And then for one to get out, you paid 20 rand. At that time was quite
Steep.
yes. Some of them afforded to pay, others couldn't afford, and they were in prison for a while. Yes. And then here you would see the last part of the old location. The houses were now demolished, and then making way for the current Hochland Park. Hochland Park, yes. And here in 2012, we were privileged to host what we call the old location reunion, where we invited everyone that lived in the old location. We had 3 prominent speakers. It was the founding father. It was Dr. Ngavirwe, who is now our envoy to the discussion relating to the reparations, and then Ambassador Hoibeb. They came and they were so excited to meet each other. Oh, you are alive, I didn't know, how are you, where's your kids, and things like that. And we hosted a beautiful dance. They were so excited. And they gave us these are their own donations that they gave as a contribution to the museum. The band is still, some of the guys are still here.
Masters.
They do play from time to time. In fact, they played last November when we launched.
Really?
Yes, they played. Yeah, some of them have perished, but others are here. So this is, in a nutshell, our small space, the Windhoek City Museum. Our mandate is just to talk about the story of the city, hopefully with more experience and more assistance from our stakeholders like yourself, we'll be able to empower this space. And we will be able to relive the past here. The last thing that we'll see outside is our beautiful botanical garden, like I've indicated to you, with plants that are indigenous to the area. Yes.
Mr. Nambadi, thank you so much for your time, and it was very interesting to walk through this museum with you, and we wish you all the best with your future endeavors, and may this space grow to be a wonderful asset to our city.
Thank you, Ronel. Thank you for making time. Thank you, guys. And yeah, keep doing what you're doing, and all the blessings.
Thank you. Dit bring ons aan die einde van vandag se baie interessante kuier hier by die Windhoek Stadsmuseum. Dankie dat julle die tyd saam met ons deurgebring het. Nou ja, ek gaan nog so vir 'n rukkie uitspan hier in die botaniese tuin en net sommer na die stadsgeluide luister en na die mooi plante kyk. Totsiens tot maandag.